Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Julie Busby, and this is another edition of our Coast to Coast. For those who have not tuned in before, I wanted to share a little bit of why am I doing this? Ever since COVID, I keep calling this the Great Reshuffle. People are moving around, trying new cities, and so I have some dear friends around the country who are in real estate, and I want to be able to spread the word about them and more about their marketplace. So that's how I started Coast to Coast. So without further ado, today's guest speaker is Francie Malina with Francie Malina team in Westchester County, New York. So Francie, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
Me too. So Francie and I met each other. I mean, I say met, but we've been in a networking group
Yeah,
online for 3 years now,
yeah,
and but we haven't met in person, but we absolutely adore each other and have sent clients
crazy.
to each other. So it's wonderful to have you.
It's wonderful to be here. And I still can't believe we haven't met in person, but we will.
We will make it happen. Maybe this summer I come out and visit. So I've heard great things about your marketplace, and I wanted to, be able to share that with those who are tuning in. So, but first we start about you. So tell us how and when you started your real estate career.
Sure. In my 13th year, my kids were in middle and high school, getting to the point of like being a little bit more independent. And I had kind of kept down the fort before that. And when I saw the opportunity to kind of relaunch into a new career, I got my license. And 13 years later, I run a team of 10 in Westchester County.
Amazing. And what were you doing? You see, you were helping raise the kids before that, or did you have another career before that?
Formerly in banking in New York City. So I live in a suburban New York commutable community and, commuted down to Wall Street. But then as things got busier between my husband and my job, someone had to give one up to help. So when it came back to going back to work, I thought I'd try my hand at real estate.
Love it. That's awesome. Well, good. So, what would you say sets you and your team apart from others in your marketplace?
Yeah, so I would say that prior to my launching a real estate career, my husband and I had not had a very positive real estate transaction. In
Mm,
fact, all of our real estate transactions were, they were what you expected in the 80s or the 90s, where, the person representing you really opened the door. They weren't providing all the concierge services that, agents are kind of forced to provide now. And so when I came into the business, it was, 2010, it was being disrupted. Zillow, realtor.com, everything was becoming very transparent. And I was looking to sort of launch a business in which like we chase reviews, not commissions. The day we close at the beginning of our relationship, we're going to be with you all through your ride, through the lifestyle we're selling you in Westchester County. And, you're going to get so sick of us because we're going to be
I
such a
love it.
part of your life.
I
So
love
that's
it.
what sets us apart. We run a ton of community events. We are always gifting our clients. We're always staying in touch. We provide a lot of content about the area during their lifetime there. And so to keep them in tune with what's going on in new restaurants and new happenings.
That's awesome. Well, good. So, you're just chatting about new restaurants and things in the neighborhood. So, what areas and of Westchester do you work in, and what neighborhoods?
Sure. So Westchester, so if you live in New York City, the obvious places to move to are Long Island, New Jersey, Westchester County, or Connecticut. Westchester is the only one of those communities without a bridge between the commute. It's a direct shot. Connecticut, of course, doesn't have a bridge, but it's the next, you have to go through Westchester to get to Connecticut. New Jersey and Long Island are connected by a bridge or a couple bridges. So a lot of folks choose Westchester because of that. There's no bridge
Oh,
traffic. Straight shot up to the mountains, Vermont and the Catskills, the Adirondacks, and also because it's carved out of a forest, really wooded, not level not level areas. You've got hills and beautiful, you're surrounded on one side by the Hudson River and the other side by the Long Island Sound. So really a beautiful county. We cover the entire county. We're a geographically diverse team, and 9 producing agents, and all of whom live in different school districts mostly. And so we're experts in the areas we cover.
I
So that
love that.
includes Scarsdale and Armonk, Chappaqua, river towns, Hastings, Dobbs Ferry, Irvington, Tarrytown, Rybrook. So we're covering the whole thing.
That's awesome. You touched on this that you wanted to provide service, and I noticed this as well as when you do have a team, you can provide so much more of a service level, and it's more of a synergy and it's concierge level service. So that's awesome, and you're able to cover more territory.
I also
That
think, and I'm sure you've experienced this, and I always say to sellers when I'm with them, you get 20 hands for the price of one. There's 10 of us.
yes.
We have a full-time team manager. But I marvel at, like, especially with the low inventory of the last 3 years, if you're a solo or, a two-person, three-person shop, everybody needs to see the house the first weekend. How do you pull that
How are you
off?
going to do that?
Exactly. You have to clone yourself.
We're dealing with that right now. We have a lovely broker who we're trying to coordinate a showing with, and she's just a one woman show, which, good for her. God bless her. That's
I
amazing. But
bow down to people like that. They're
I know,
amazing.
but we can't get into the home because she says, "Oh, I'm over here. I'm over here." So we can't even get into the listing. So I get it. Yes, the service level is important to us too.
Yep.
So you already covered. I really love that your explanation of, the commute into New York. Tell me a little bit more about highlights of your marketplace. It sounds like it's awesome to get to the mountains and to the city. What else is a good highlight of your marketplace?
So I think the fascinating thing that people don't understand about, metropolitan New York area, you live in one of the five boroughs, you're riding the subway, you're probably standing and sweating and holding on to the strap. Many of our clients marvel that if they were commuting from Williamsburg, Brooklyn to like Midtown Manhattan, and then they move to the Westchester area, their commute is shorter and it is more civilized. You are sitting on Metro North. All trains out of Westchester go into Grand Central. It's all Metro North. You sit. It's a very civilized commute. You do your work. You turn on your Wi-Fi and you get to work. And that's a game changer for especially
It
a lot of
is.
the folks that move up are young families. So that's 40, 30, or 50 minutes on the train of quiet time, which is really work hours. My husband was a corporate lawyer and he just billed the hour or 40 minutes because he was
Wow.
working the whole time. So
Oh
that's
yeah.
really a highlight as well. I lived in like the Upper West Side and I commuted down to Wall Street. I couldn't do a thing. I mean, maybe I could balance my phone in my hand while I'm holding on and try and send a text.
But
But the other like wonderful aspects of, living in metropolitan New York and in the suburbs of metropolitan New York is, we get a lot of really cool restaurants, a ton of vibe. We
I was
get
going to ask that.
Michelin mentioned, Michelin rated restaurants. We get a lot of cool chefs, celebrity chefs, open restaurants up there. Our farmers markets, of course, are like a highlight because of the farms upstate, but the population that demands after they've moved out of the city and they were used to those fabulous farmers markets, there's the expectation in Westchester as well. So you have that on my side of the county where I live on the west side of the county. All the communities are connected by a linear park. I call it the High Line of the suburbs. It's really called the Old
Cool.
Croton Aqueduct, but it's 26 miles up the county, and you can walk farmers market to farmers market, village to village, or ride your bike. And it's just so wonderful because on weekends you'll just see families and joggers and people walking their dogs, and you can go from my town, Irvington, and walk to the Terrytown Farmers Market and walk back. So and most of that you'll spy the Hudson River through the trees. So
So pretty.
there's a lot of outdoor opportunities in Westchester, lots and lots of preserved open space. So as you can imagine, people who move out of the city value the woods. So many of the communities were really smart about preserving passive recreation areas, and there's tons of them. I could go on and on about them, but the Rockefellers, who everybody has heard of, really preserved so much of their property in Tarrytown, and it's open to the public, which is just phenomenal.
That's
So
awesome.
lots of stuff to do.
That's awesome. Now tell me about, I was thinking about that the city folk coming out are just loving the space. What about actual parcels of land for their home? Or do they get a good backyard? Is that hard to come by?
Depends on your area. The closer you are to New York City, the more tightly sited the properties. So Bronxville or Pelham. Pelham's a 29-minute commute. It's really just we call some of the areas closer to New York City like Borough 6, right? Because they're so close, like Hastings,
Yes.
which is near where I live. So the houses are tightly sited, and then as you move up the line, you can get much bigger parcels. So I live 41-minute train commute into Grand Central. We live on 2 acres and we back 400 acres of woods.
Holy
We always
moly.
say we're like 15 miles from New York City, but you've got this, fox and coyote and
Oh,
deer
love
everywhere.
it.
So it really, what I say to our clients who are shooting for this is it offers a childhood for your kids. You can ride your
Yes.
bikes into town, go get ice cream, a little bit of roots and wings. Your kids at a much younger age can get out of school and walk across the street and get pizza. And then instead of taking the bus home, walk home with their friends.
Love that. That's awesome. Are you finding with COVID that even a younger demographic is coming out to your area as well? Or are you finding they're still staying in the city? I'm just curious. We're seeing that in Chicago.
We are also seeing it. There's over 6,000 rental units being built in White Plains, which is like one of our biggest cities in Westchester. And we marvel, like, who's going to rent those? And we are seeing, because rents are so high in the city, and because so many of these buildings are built with great amenities, easy commute to the city,
Oh yeah,
we are seeing a lot of it.
that's cool. That's great.
Yeah.
So tell me what's going on. I know because we talk all the time, but how is your marketplace? How was the last 2 years? How have things changed? And yeah, what are the trends right now?
So we continue to have incredibly low inventory in most of the towns that are very popular with the city buyers. Most of our buyers come from a city, mostly New York City, but we get a lot of West Coasters, and then of course with the great reshuffle, we get them from everywhere. But it's usually, I've got 2 jobs, 2 kids. It's time to have a home.
Yeah,
And again, the public school thing, if you were in New York City and you're getting shuffled around in the public schools, Westchester, you move somewhere, you have a lease or a home and a deed, you're going to be in that school district for the rest of time. There's no
right.
districting. So we are seeing the dramatically low inventory. And because there was that population in New York City, which is our biggest feeder, there was a whole population that were urbanites for life. And then you have this global pandemic hit, and that population, some facet of them moved up to the Catskills or wherever they moved to.
Yeah.
And now they're like, wait, I don't want to go back to the city. But because we always counted on them to stay in the city, our basket of buyers was as big as it was. Now it's doubled or tripled. And the other thing that's happening, which I think is probably happening in your marketplace as well, is our empty nesters, and that can be from 50 to 75, while they might have gone to Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, all the usual spots, or stayed local but bought a condo to be near their grandchildren, or Connecticut, the neighboring states. Prices are so high, when they do the numbers, the
Yes.
right size is not a value. So they're like, well, I had my kids in my house during COVID anyway, so that was 2 years, it was worthwhile. I'm just going to stay for a little longer. And they're really struggling. We have this confluence of events that's causing such a bottleneck.
Hmm. So what are you seeing in so for those maybe watching this is a little later, it's January 2023 right now is when we're chatting. What do you see for this next year in your marketplace? Do you see any changes or kind of low inventory for the rest of the year? Yeah.
I do. I mean, I do think, we'll get periods where we'll get a bunch of listings on, but so far in the new year, whatever's come on is, for instance, we put on a reasonably priced, beautiful home in a great school district today. It came on today, it has 31 showings already. I mean,
Whoa.
it's painful on every side.
I know.
And the better condition the house, this one's actually spectacular. They did the right things. The higher it goes. And a balanced market is better for everybody. So a
It
lot of people,
is.
I'm sure, say to you all the time, it's great for you guys. It's not.
No,
We
I agree.
we serve our young families, or the first couple into this house today was a young couple that just got married. Like, it's
Oh,
heartbreaking. So I don't see the inventory opening up in my area that soon, because Westchester is almost fully built out. There's like no land. So it's not like we're
right.
just gonna get this marvelous 300 home subdivision, maybe in Putnam County. But so, a lot of times if you want a new home, they're tearing down another home, or they're subdividing their front yard or their backyard or something.
Mm.
We're not going to have this big, run of inventory come on the market in that way. And I don't see it, opening up that people are going to go south. It's just not that reasonable right now.
Interesting. So we do have a big conglomerate between Chicago and New York.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I actually had a client move from New York City this last year. I helped them sell in Chicago. They moved to New York and then they came back. And they came back because they wanted more land, more quality of life. And I'm sitting here thinking, goodness, we should have had this, I should have introduced them to you. So, but my point is that I know I have probably a few listeners listening and might have a job transfer or might be moving to New York. And I think it's really good for them to hear from you about Westchester and what a great option it is. What are some tips you could give a buyer coming into the marketplace there?
Yeah, so and that's funny. I was going to bring this up before. Chicago's such a livable city. You can live in the city and drive home from work and pull into your garage and, maybe have a little backyard. Most cities are designed that way. Boston, most of the cities around the country. New York, that's almost, yes, there can be a parking garage in your building, but it's probably $800 a month to put your car there.
Right.
But it's
Right.
just not as easy with a family with 2 or 3 kids. That's why Brooklyn is so popular in Queens, because or Staten Island, you're going to get more space. And I think what happens is people give up and they go to other cities, which totally makes sense. They don't realize that buyers can go out to Long Island, to New Jersey or Westchester, and they don't actually have to go that far. And like I said before, in some cases, their commutes are the same. And the main difference between those commutes too is you're not relying on a subway. I mean, our Metro North, there's a schedule. Like my husband was on the 717 train every day. He probably parked the car pretty much by the tracks in a similar spot every day, walked up the same ramp and sat down. So it becomes very regular, and it becomes a very regular part of your life. So before they give up or they freak out and they think they have to move, to way out in Brooklyn, and those prices are insane,
Right.
check out the suburban communities. Even if you just go up as far as like Pelham, Bronxville, there's some right on Tuckahoe, right on the, New York, Westchester border. And do drive-bys, go to farmers markets, tour the parks, go sit in the coffee shops, see what the feel is. Pretty much a very significant portion of the people living in Westchester County lived in New York City beforehand. So it's that same
I bet.
cosmopolitan. This is not the land of, we're miles and miles from a metropolitan area.
That's great. What would you say, and I know this, you may not have the exact number, of course, but what would you say is your average like starter home in Westchester price point? Hard to say.
No, I can say it and it kills me. In fact, I try never to use the word starter home in the same sense,
I
because
know.
also, not only is it the starter home, but then the taxes are so high in Westchester
Got it.
because of the fabulous schools. Um, I would say, and you can get in at 800,000 and get,
Oh, that's, yeah,
yeah. Oh, that breaks my
similar
heart.
to Chicago. Chicago's like 800 for Bucktown, and you couldn't even get that in Lincoln Park. Lincoln Park, you have to be at 11215. So
Right. We
yeah, that
definitely
makes
have
sense.
areas like that too.
That's the
Um,
same. Yeah.
yeah.
So that's
Doesn't
good
it
to
break
know. And then you still have all the culture and everything around you as well. So that's neat.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah. Anything else? I have a rapid fire at the end that I'm going to go through, but anything else that you want to share to a potential buyer or seller in the marketplace that might be watching this?
Well, on the buy side, I definitely think our buyers are shocked when they get up there, especially the urbanites that were never leaving. And then just that first child or whatever it is, cost. I mean, New York is obviously cost prohibitive too. So they come up, but they come up with that body language of like very close. This is not us. And then as we give them a tour and get them familiar with the areas, I would say more than 90% of them love the lifestyle. And as they settle in within 3 months, they say they're like, they go back to the city for work or whatever, but they love the safety, the cleanliness, the ease of life. Many of them remark that, that same Whole Foods bill is cheaper in New York City, in Westchester, because the rent at Whole Foods is cheaper. So
Oh,
that they love that, the cost of things are more reasonable.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So rapid
Okay.
fire.
Here we go.
Okay, what would you be doing if you were not in real estate?
Hiking Mount Kilimanjaro. No,
Oh, love
I
that.
would, I would, I would spend more time traveling. What would I be doing if I wasn't in real estate? It's something in the finance, something on the finance side of things.
Yes, I know you're analytical. You've shown me some of your charts and
I like
everything. So
art.
clients thinking of looking for someone know that Francie is not only personable and wonderful and great service, but also is very analytical too, which I love. Okay. So okay, you'd probably be in the financial world. What is your favorite restaurant in Westchester?
Well, my favorite is like a local restaurant in Irvington. It's called River City Grill. I love them. I'm a local. They have a very broad menu and also great beer on tap. I'm a beer girl. But
Love
really
it.
in Westchester, there are so many fabulous um, celebrity chef restaurants, Michelin mentioned restaurants. So there's a lot of places to try all the time. That's the one thing I think people are surprised by, especially on the west side of the county. You're not eating dinner in a strip mall. These are funky,
Love
old,
that.
adaptive reuse restaurants in adaptive reuse buildings. Really cool.
That's awesome. And then, what is your favorite vacation spot that's 2 hours away driving?
That's a great one. I would say Mohawk Mountain House. It's a
Okay.
beautiful property upstate.
Neat. Okay. Well, this has been awesome as usual. We keep it short and sweet just because
Love
we know
it.
everyone's busy these days. So, Francie, thank you for your time. And I hope everyone enjoyed learning a little bit more about Westchester. We are going to share some of her listings, her bio, more information about her team, and let us know if you have any questions. I hope everyone is well.
Thanks so much. This was fun.
Yes. Thank you.